Um, so we got to hear Draftapalooza Part 2. I don't know if you were able to hear Simmons.
I just got one.
Simmons and KOC, and who was the third guy?
Russillo.
No, it wasn't Russillo. It was the guy who does college.
Oh, Tate.
It was Tate. So their thing, they really liked it for the most part. And it was because of Chris Paul's basketball intelligence and the fact that the Warriors just as a team got so much smarter. Now, my question, Chris Paul is off injured. Steph Curry is going to miss 15 to 20 games every single year. It just happens. Klay Thompson is, still, he played a lot last year. He didn't play back-to-backs until late in the season, but, he's still he's still back from that injury and a lot of wear and tear and some worry about injury. Noah Iguodala. So you're gonna be relying on Gary Payton. You're gonna be relying on Moody. You're gonna be relying on Kuminga, unless this is one move in a combination of 2 or 3 moves that we don't know yet. We're just basing off what we know. I don't know. I think they need another guard. I think they need another ball handler because there will be basketball games. I can guarantee you. I don't know if it's going to be 2. I don't know if it's going to be 10. Where Steph and CP are both out.
Yeah, that's the worry, right? With trading your all 82 guy for a guy who hasn't given you 55. And like, we should pull this up. I should have had this ready. I'm going to go to Chris Paul.
Oh, you're looking at his games played.
Chris Paul basketball reference. Okay, let's see. You have, just going to last year, 59 games played.
How many minutes per game, by the way?
32.
That's actually really good.
And he doesn't do the thing where, Steph does it, where you're coming back from a big injury and you slowly bring yourself back into the lineup, whether it's like sitting on the bench or however some players do it. So yeah, 59 games started. 65 games the year before, 32.9 minutes. 70, 58, 58, 61. So it may be not as bad as I thought, but I mean, when you start approaching age, what is he, 38 now? 37?
Yeah, 38.
38. It's just, it's not like when you're young and you expect like, okay, my availability will get better. I'll get better. It's like, no, he's on the decline.
But that's part of the reason why they could get him is because he's on the decline. You couldn't get 33-year-old Chris Paul for this Jordan Poole contract. It is, it is what, and because he's got the non-guarantee for the following year, that's also what makes this attractive. So yeah, player for player, I think I'd rather have Jordan Poole if we're talking about the next 3 years, but if we're talking about this season, who would you rather have? This 23-24 season, would you rather have Jordan Poole over Chris Paul?
Well, no, I've been telling you, man. I was on team Jordan Poole getting moved, which you don't talk about enough. I need my props here. Slater was trying to feed us the wrong information. I said I think Jordan Poole's more likely to get moved than Kuminga, and
I felt
like a hot take at the
Slater's
time.
Taking shots.
He deserves. I love Slater, but yeah, that was made me almost second guess myself there, but I stayed to it. Jordan Poole on the Warriors versus Chris Paul should be the conversation, and it's Chris Paul. Jordan Poole on the Warriors was just not going to work out moving forward. Jordan Poole on the Wizards or Chris Paul, give me Jordan Poole. But yeah, no, I'm actually relatively high on the pairing. I think that the Warrior, just another guy whose basketball IQ is through the roof. You talk about the Warriors' backup point guards over the years, Sean Livingston, and then you go Ian Clark, like Quinn Cook, Kai Bowman, Brad Wanamaker, then Jordan Poole.
Don't forget about the great Nico Mannion, U of A.
Nico Mannion. And like Chris Paul, like that's, remember when Kyle Lowry didn't want to back up Steph? And now here's Chris Paul backing up Steph. No, I think the main question, if there was one question that someone was like, okay, over all this Warriors dynasty, like, what was something that you think they struggled with the most? And taking away the KD years, which I know was 2 titles and 3 finals appearances, but it's the non-Steph minutes. Is how do they do in the non-Steph minutes? And it's always been bad. But Poole, the hope with Poole, what they thought they struck gold with Jordan Poole is that, oh wow, we might have struck gold here, and maybe we could start not only staying within, going wash on the Steph minutes, plus minus zero. Maybe we can even start winning some of these Steph minutes with this Jordan Poole kid. And it looked promising for a while, and then Draymond decides to punch him in the face and knock him out. But now I think getting Chris Paul, I think there is a potential that they can go wash on those non-Steph minutes or even win them again. And I think that, like you talk about starting five, man. You look at the net rating on our starting five. It's still one of the best in the league. Still one of the best in the league.
Okay, I have two questions for you on this fit. The first one: when Chris Paul and Steph play together, does that mean Draymond is not on the court? Because Draymond needs the basketball when he is on the court. Chris Paul needs the basketball when he is on the court. One of those two guys is going to be moving and cutting and sitting in a corner, and I just don't know. I don't know how to maximize both of those guys offensively at the same time.
I think it's more so that Steph won't be as on ball in those lineups. I think it'll be more like a split CP Draymond, where you do some of the pick and roll with that Steph and Dre do, where you do a high pick and roll. Dre gets the ball and he makes a decision whether he wants to shoot it, pass it, lob it, whatever. I think that, although that won't be a pick and roll that starts at the volleyball line like Steph's does because of how far he can shoot, but I think there could be some similar stuff with CP and Draymond, some similar two-man game where both are pretty elite passers. And I think what's nice about this fit is, when's the last time we had a guy who doesn't turn the ball over like that? Like, Steph is just turnover prone. Draymond will make some dumb passes here and there. Like Chris Paul, I have his basketball reference up. Let's go look at the turnovers. What's his assist to turnover ratio? I'm sure it's excellent. Turnovers, 1.9 turnovers this past season to 8.9 assists per game. This guy's the point guard. He's one of the best passers of all time. I'm willing. Chris Paul's biggest fan now after all that. I need Jonathan Kuminga and some State Farm commercials.
Jonathan Kuminga may be the benefactor of some of those passes.
Right? I think some of the young players are really going to benefit by having a Chris Paul. Okay, I know on Twitter I was upset about the trade, and I've had time to think about it since then. I haven't really tweeted my thoughts since I had time to think about it. I just kind of did some reaction tweets, which were very upset because I do think that we still got swindled. I think just at the moment of now, Jordan Poole got way undervalued simply because of his contract and how he played. And then, coupled with the fact that Washington was on an 80% fire sale for their entire team, and it seems like we got upcharged. But I think looking at the fit, it really does make sense. I think a lot of people are going to benefit. I think when you look at last year's Warriors, you can't really evaluate them correctly because of how many people missed time. Wiggins barely played. Steph barely played. They barely all played together. And when they did, it was excellent. So hypothetically, you add Chris Paul to that, and they're not going to be no 1 seed, shooting. I wouldn't bet on them being a 1 seed or a 2 seed, but I think 3 and 4 is totally in play. And it's obviously going to be reliant on a lot of health factors, but they're taking the bet with Rick Celebrini and his staff that they could do what they did to Otto Porter Jr., what they did for Draymond. I don't know really the X's and O's behind a medical training staff, but it seems like we have a good one. So, I think that if you're able to get 60 to 65 games out of both CP and Steph in the same season, they're able to strike gold just once in one season. I think it'll be very beneficial, and we'll see with the playoffs, because I feel like Chris Paul hasn't always had the best rep in the playoffs, but that's also because of the injuries and whatnot. So we'll have to see. As of now, I think really everyone benefits. I'm not really too worried about the spacing. Because you have some of the best shooters in the world. And I think just when you have that many guys who know what to do with the basketball, spacing is always going to be important. But I think, when you just have cones, like GP2, no offense, but he's kind of like a cone, whereas CP3 knows what to do with the basketball. Draymond Green has limitations, but really he knows what he wants to do. So I think that the spacing is not going to be as big of an issue, say the second unit, when CP and Dre are in it.
Okay. How many times am I going to screw up CP2 and GP3 during our next season?
You already messed it up. Yeah, no, I
That's gonna
could.
happen
I
because
hope none.
I called Gary Payton's GP3 like a
I've
bunch of
never done
times this
it, and
season.
Chris Paul wasn't even on our team when you were doing it.
I maybe that's I was just foreseeing the future.
Yeah. But when you look at like the Warriors' needs to me, I think there's still a need for, although you want to bet on the medical staff, how about you get some insurance with guys who could play 70 plus games? I think that's going to be really important. Availability is the best ability. It's one of the things I put in my lessons learned podcast that after covering a season for the full year, like that is really undervalued is how many games you could play in a season. That's why I think it's awesome with Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards that they're both pretty shoe in for 82 games. Also, they still need that backup big. That's why I wanted Lively, a rim protector. I still think they need that, and I think they need someone who could pressure the rim. Wiggins coming back is going to be great. I think more Kuminga I think that could be something that they solve as well with the availability is that Kuminga and Moody become staple pieces of the rotation. Would you bet on it? History tells us no, but I think
I mean, it's
that
not up to us, right? It's really up to Steve Kerr.
yeah. Yeah. I just think that if you have Kuminga and Moody as staple pieces of the rotation, like you might be able to solve some of that availability stuff and some of the rim pressure stuff too. Both of those guys are pretty athletic and Moody's a little sneaky athletic is the term. But I think that there's probably still another need for a couple more players. But yeah, I think they might have handled it.
Isn't BP sneaky athletic? So now we got two sneaky athletic
Yeah,
guys.
some sneaky athletic guys.
Oh man,
Obviously,
playing
like
at the same
another
time.
primary shot creator is important, but I think when you have someone who's that good at playmaking and getting his teammates involved, a CP, it almost kind of supplements that. Whereas if you put Clay in the second unit, like Clay might benefit the most out of all of this, just by like having CP set him up all the time and getting a lot of good looks for him. Like that I'm really interested in seeing that pairing.
I guess you already answered the other question that I had about how Chris Paul fits in the offense, and he's not a motion guy, and the Warriors are a motion team, and he's more it's kind of
Dribble.
remind what I just thought when I heard about the trade. I remembered that moment where it was early in the season of the 2017 when they had brought KD over, and it's like a late in the game, and KD's like clapping at Draymond, like, give me the ball. And then he missed like this like
The
fadeaway
Clippers, yeah,
3-pointer. I don't think it was that game. It was it might have been like Milwaukee or something, because it was way earlier in the season. And so they needed, they had the ball for the last shot, and Draymond wanted to run a play, and KD's just like clapping at the top of the key, like, give me the ball, because he wanted to go ISO and he wanted to get the shot, and he missed. And that was an argument with them. And like, I don't think Chris Paul has the gravitas today to do that. Like that's not going to be his game.
No.
But just the idea that this is where he's comfortable playing is in this slower walk it up, like, I'm going to get to my spot and I'm going to shoot this 15-footer. Then you got a lot of guys on the Warriors kind of standing around. So that's going to be interesting how they kind of blend that in, because I could see Draymond going like, dude, pass the ball. Like we're all like just running for no reason.